So one of the things that makes Java such a powerful language is the ability to add new features. So today we're going to add the math class. I know, really exciting, more math. But that's our goal, is to be able to get Java to do calculations that people find really difficult. Make sure you have your template program open so you can follow along. The first one we're starting off here is ABS, which stands for absolute value. And basically what we're doing, just like we talked about adding an app to a cell phone, we're adding this new feature, math, to your Java program. More math. Hard not to get excited about that. So in any case, it's got a whole bunch of stuff in there. In a minute, we'll actually look and see the full list. The lucky thing for you all is the AP folks very nicely decided that we don't have to do everything that's in there. So we need, for the AP exam, you need to recognize how to do absolute value. You need to be able to do exponents and square roots and random numbers. The really nice thing about this is there's actually a cheat sheet that you get to use on the AP exam itself. So looking at the way the file is set up is we've got scanner added because we want to do some input. We're going to input 2 integers, then 2 doubles, and we're going to try each of these functions that you have to know using both the doubles and then the integers so you can compare. So let's go ahead and compile. And for once, I don't have a single typo. It's kind of a miracle. And when we run it, because we're doing absolute value, now remember in math, absolute value takes any value and it tells you the distance between 2 numbers. And when we do distance, distances are always positive. So if I was going to take the absolute value of -7, I would get a +7 as my answer. So we've run the program and we want to enter 2 integers first. Now again, we've talked about this in some of the other lessons. When you're doing something like this, we kind of want to try to break the program. We want to make sure we're really getting a correct answer. So if I do something like 10 minus 1, that already gives me a positive number, so that's not a good test. Instead, we're going to reverse the numbers. So I'm going to take 1 as my first number and 10 as my second. 1 minus 10 should give me a -9, okay? Except the absolute value will make it positive. We're going to do the same thing with the doubles. So I'm going to do 2.5 and then the second number, 37.001. Okay, and when we look at the answers, we get the correct answers, +9, +34.501. So again, the absolute value is going to take whatever number you put in and gives you the distance between the 2 numbers, gives you a positive number. So the next one we need to do is called PAL. And really what that's doing is a power, which is basically just an exponent. So again, we take the math and we're going to type in POW. And basically for this one, we have 2 parameters or 2 values that are going in. So I'm going to type in x comma y. The first number is the base, the second number is the exponent. And we'll do the same thing with the doubles. I'm going to rearrange my code here a little bit just so we can test them separately. So we're going to do the integers first, and then we'll test it again with the doubles just to see what happened. So answers int. And again, you always want to label what you're doing so that when you come back to it later, you don't forget. So we're going to change this one so it says answers doubles. Okay, so the way this works now is I ask the user to enter 2 ints. We have our little answer thing show up, and then it's going to do the PAL, and then the same process for the doubles. All right, so we recompile. So when we run it, I'm going to take 3 and I want to run it to the second power. 3 squared should give us 9, which we got. Now notice our answer comes back as a 9.0. Anything sent back from the PAL function is as a double automatically. So now we're going to do 2 doubles. I'm going to do 2.7 and I'm going to raise it to the 0.5, which takes the square root, and we should get a really nasty decimal out of this. Perfect. All right, 1.6431, etc., which is a reasonable answer for the square root of 2.7. So that's the PAL function. Next we have the square root. I always like this one because we spell it like it's squirt, so SQRT. And again, you have basically just one value that comes into this. So I'm just going to take the squirt of x. And we actually don't need the y here, so I'm going to block it out. When you put 2 slashes next to each other, that's called making a comment. And notice how it changed colors. That means Java is going to ignore it. Since the squirt only takes 1 value, I don't even want to ask for the second number. And I'm going to do the same thing here with the doubles. 2 dashes, that blocks the line, so Java ignores it. And I want to change this, so I'm taking the square root, or the squirt, of just a, and we'll get rid of the b here. We don't need it. So recompile. No mistakes. Oh, I did have a mistake in my output though, so let me fix that real quick. Instead of saying 2 doubles, we want it to be accurate. We only want them to enter 1 double and 1 int. Again, our job as a programmer is to be pretty picky about these things. Okay, so, and actually grammatically that should be an int. All right, and recompile. So if we enter an integer here, if we take the square root, let's say 16, the square root of 16 is 4.0, which is what we'd expect. And if I enter a double, let's do 0.47. The square root of that is 0.685565, etc., etc., which is again a reasonable answer for the square root of 0.47.